Well, hello and welcome. My name is Martin Lopez, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Hayden. He is the author of Conscious Choosing for Flow, Transforming Conflict into Creativity. Today's webinar is called New Year's Resolution, Getting into Flow. So let's get started. Hello, Hayden. How you doing?
Hey, Martine, good to see you again, as always. I appreciate these webinars. You interview me, and we can bring a new awareness and insight into what we're talking about in the book. So,
Uh,
thank you.
Absolutely. Well, today is December 31st, 2014. So New Year's Eve. What a better topic to talk about, New Year's resolution. If you look on, I'm looking on Twitter, and about every time my phone refreshes, there's 50 to 100 new tweets about, what my New Year's resolution is.
Uh huh.
And when you think,
So, yeah, so if we have New Year's resolution, I think the commitment to enter flow and what is flow and how do we do it is a really good topic for this webinar.
absolutely, absolutely. So, most people are continuously looking to, to build themselves, to advance, to move forward, and companies have that same commitment. They want to build a company, they want to sell more widgets, they want to be more productive, increase their bottom line, right? And they want
Right.
their employees, to buy into their mission statement and step it up and keep that going, right?
Right, absolutely. I think we all have that at some level.
Yeah, and we call that operating in flow, right?
Well, if we're successful or we're enjoying it or it works for us, yeah, we're in flow. But if we're struggling with it and it's not working for us, we're not in flow.
Yeah, yeah. So how does well, first off, what does it mean for a company to operate in flow?
We define flow as having it work for those that we're interacting with. So if we're interacting with other executives and at some level they're saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. I don't like the way you're operating. I don't like the demands you're making on me. We're not operating in flow. Uh, in the research we did on flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi has written several books on entering flow, what flow is, and he did a lot of research on individuals and sport figures, what it meant to be in flow, where they're totally absorbed in what they're doing and almost lose track of time, what flow is. And what we're talking about is that same concept of being absorbed. It works for us. We almost lose a sense of time because we have passion at what we're doing in our interactions with each other. So, what sets conscious choosing for flow apart from Mihaly's research is we're talking about entering flow with each other
Uh-huh.
so that what's going on in your mind, Martine, is, hey, man, this works for me. I like what Hayden and I are doing. And that's my concept. So you and I are in flow in what we're doing here. And what we're going to talk about today is how to get into flow with others that we're interacting with on a daily basis, whether it's our family, our friends, our peers at work, or those that report to us. What does it mean to enter into flow?
Yeah. So what does it mean to enter into flow with people, let's say, that you're in conflict with? Because that's a huge part of operating a company or even just being in a family, right? How do you enter into flow with people that you're in conflict with?
Absolutely. So, the first thing we have to do is to communicate. Uh, as an executive coach, I see people stepping over what doesn't work for them. They ignore it, they self protect, they uh, do what works for them, but they don't communicate it with each other. So, part of entering flow is communication, being in dialogue, and one really key point is being curious, asking. Does this work for you? If not, what can we do to have it work for you as well as it works for me? So
Yeah.
it's more curious questions to enter dialogue so we can identify what's working for us and what doesn't to enter flow to each other with each other.
Well, what happens when we don't ask questions? When we just, like you said, hold it in? What happens then?
We get resentful. We are frustrated and aren't expressing it at a level that we can work it out with the other person.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little frustrated about the way we're working here. What can we do so that we deal with our frustration and it works for us? That's just a really simple question that a
Yeah.
lot of people don't ask.
Yeah.
You know, like, is this working for you? One of the things that I do on a consistent basis in my executive coaching is I make a request for homework. And people say, oh, I'll do it. I said, does this work for you? They go, yeah, I think so. I said, well, then we have a greater chance that you'll do it. If it doesn't work for you, we need to stop and talk about it because we want to be in flow with each other.
Absolutely. I think I do that same thing with my kids. My son Jordan loves sports, and he's got homework. And there's a difference between saying, "Hey, just do your homework," than incorporating both. Listen, the reward for homework is you get to play more sports or you get these new shoes. Does that work for you? And then he
Yeah.
buys into like doing his homework and is very excited about doing his homework.
So we have two things. We have sports and we have homework. What can we do to make sure you do both of them and do them both really well? So if Jordan has an ability to have a say,
Uh huh.
he'll be more engaged than you just tell him you got to do your homework. Like, when will you do your homework and when can you practice sports so that you get them both done? You know, just a
Absolutely.
little curiosity there.
Absolutely. Well, and I just thought of, you don't tell a 15-year-old what to do because they're going to do what they want to do, or they're going to at least try to do what they want to do. But then let's take that to corporate America. How many
Right.
people in corporate America can you tell go do this or do that, sell this or sell that, or build this or build this, build more of the, it doesn't work that way. I mean, it'd be nice if it did because we can just get our results like that, but it doesn't work that way.
That's one of the challenges with power. People tend to operate in power by telling people,
Uh-huh.
and then people resent it and they don't do it, or there's lot of struggle. Most of the struggle in corporate America is violating two of our most important needs that we have as human beings, and that is respect and autonomy, to have a say in our lives. And if we don't have a say, we're not as engaged. You know, there's been a lot of reports about people not being engaged at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I actually have some statistics on an article that I read this week.
oh,
You
go
mind if I
ahead.
throw those out?
Oh,
So
please do.
there was a Forbes article called "Unhappy Employees," right? So that
Uh-huh.
caught my eye. And in the article, they said 13% of workers feel engaged in their job, and I was like,
13%.
13%.
Yeah, that's not very high, is it? No.
The vast majority, they said 63%, are not engaged. That they're checked out, they're sleepwalking through their day, they're putting as little energy as they can to get by. That's an amazing statistic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, okay. So we're not engaged at work. What does it take to get people engaged at work? How about asking? How about talking about it? You know, what would it take to get you engaged and to be really excited about what you're doing here? That's dialogue, that's conversation, but we step over it and we ignore it and we expect people to do something, but we haven't really talked about what it is and what would engage them in their work. Pretty simple, but dialogue is pretty important. Conversation is important.
But we're not really taught how to be in dialogue or in communication with people for the most part. We're taught how to do tasks, we're taught how to answer questions on a test. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We're taught how to do it. And if we don't like doing it, I don't know, we get into procrastination then. You know, forget about it. I don't like doing it and I'm going to put it off as long as I can because I'm not really excited about doing it. If you talk to your son Jordan and
Hmm.
you say, I see you procrastinating. How come? What's going on? And you enter that dialogue, he can share with you, and then you can address it. If he doesn't share with you, you can't address why he's procrastinating.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
a lot of it has to do with, let's be in conversation about this.
Absolutely. Well, I think the charts you have, the needs and the feelings charts that you can get online on consciouschoosing.com, those charts are very effective because oftentimes when I'm engaged with somebody I'm working with, even my own family, that I'll take out those charts and I'll see where I'm at with those with those interactions. And sometimes I'll even hand the charts to somebody and say, where are you at? How are you feeling, and what need do you have that's not being met? And it's amazing the shift, the transformation that happens just physically in their face, and their eyes open up. It's like, wow, I have figured out what this thing that's blocking me is, and then you just move through it. It's amazing.
What we bring, what conscious choosing for flow brings to the table in this conversation is addressing human needs. What is your need? What's really important to you? Another way of saying that is what's really important to you. Or what do you really want?
Yeah,
Or what's really important to you and is critical for you to do a good job? What is that? You know, Respect,
yeah,
safety, those are meta needs, but there's something like understanding and be understood. If people don't feel like they're understood, they get into this position and okay, I'll do it. And, it's not as good as you'd like it to be done because there isn't that understanding about what's important to them. And when you simply ask someone, whether you deal with it or not, just asking them
yeah.
sends the message, I care and I want to work this out with you.
Absolutely.
That message is really important to get across.
And that internal message for me, like addressing my own needs, like being to understand and be understood for me was critical, and I didn't even know it before I took conscious choosing. Once I did that, I knew what shut me down. I knew now. It's like, okay, I'm feeling stupid. I'm feeling a little embarrassed here. And it's because I'm not communicating clearly with the person that I'm engaged with. That human connection. I'm trying to create results through this human connection, and there's no understanding. I'm not getting my point across.
Yeah, this human connection is so important. I had a call this morning and talking about Christmas vacations,
Uh-huh.
and one lady was saying they were at dinner and it wasn't working, and her daughter left dinner and went to her room. She went to her daughter's room, and her daughter was crying, and her daughter said, I don't fit in here. I'm different.
Wow.
And they talked about how she was different, and there was real empathy that was expressed between the mother and the daughter. And there was a connection that occurred there because there was some understanding. And sometimes if we don't have those conversations and we ignore people, they go off and do their own thing, or they go to their room and they cry. But when we have a conversation and show empathy, that's where the connection occurs.
Absolutely. And that can be used at home. It can be used at work.
Hmm.
I see that people that go through conscious choosing, that they start to use these concepts and start to have more of an effect on their employees, their associates, and in their own personal lives. It's amazing. It's just, like I said, conscious choosing for flow, creating results through our human connections. It's so true.
I one of the things that I have done dozens of times is executive interventions in companies. I've done several at NASA, at the EPA, and in our newsletter that people will get and can click on and watch this webinar
Uh-huh.
is a story about an intervention at a large insurance company where the executives were there was retribution, they were getting back at people, and it wasn't working. And so I interviewed all the executives, found out what wasn't working, and there was one particular executive that was, as he said when we finally did our retreat, there were a lot of bodies in the wake here. There were a lot of broken glass, and he apologized to the group that he was doing things that didn't work for them. We put together agreements on what would be a way to operate so that there wasn't retribution, there wasn't, I gotcha kind of mentality,
Yeah.
and that they could work together at a different level. And we put together some agreements that they all agreed to operate by, and then they agreed to get together every month and talk about their agreements and were they operating that way. A couple months later, I got an email from the CEO saying, our executive team has come together because we addressed what wasn't working. We talked about it. We put some agreements in place. We wrote them down. we revisit them, and a new level of collaboration and cooperation is occurring within our team.
Wow.
I think that's possible in any company when there's conflict among the leadership
Hmm.
to get together and go, okay, what's working? And real candor and honesty has to take place to go,
Absolutely.
the way you're operating, George, and the way that you're interacting with me doesn't work. And I'd like to find a new way of doing it so we can both get the results we want.
Absolutely.
When we operate there and we have that conversation and have an open, honest conversation,
Yeah.
we can put together some agreements on what would be the best approach so that we all get our needs met.
Yeah. Well,
Pretty simple,
it's
but
simple.
profound,
It is. And so since it's New Year's and we're talking about New Year's resolutions, right?
Right.
How do you keep that going? How do you keep that, that agreement going ongoingly? Because you're gonna run into conflict again, right?
Yeah, and we'll procrastinate doing our resolutions.
Yeah.
We'll put them off. We'll ignore them.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I have found works for me and most people that I've worked with is to write them down and revisit them every week and go, how's it working? Is this working for me? Do I need to stop, modify, or start something here to have it work for me moving forward? So we may say we're going to go to the gym every day at 5 o'clock and work out. Well, maybe that doesn't work every day, and maybe 5 o'clock doesn't work every day, but
Sure.
maybe we could do it, go Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 o'clock or 5:30, and on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, do something different and adjust it as we move along, and to write it down and make sure, okay, this is working for me now. Maybe I'll make adjustments later on, but it's being really clear what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and then follow up with looking at our agreements, our resolutions. Say, okay, am I getting the results I want? Is this working for me? If not, what do I need to do to modify it in order to get the results? It takes a constant going back and keep it in front of mind awareness.
Yeah.
This is what my resolutions are, and is it working for me? And if not, what do I need to do to make it work for me?
That's great. So, and when things are working for you, I think you're more apt to, at least I know myself, I'm more apt to go back and look at it and revisit it. If things don't work for me, I'm not going to open up my sheet and say, it's not like that. It's when I'm inspired or when I'm thinking about what's going on here? Why am I going in this direction? I don't want to go. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, this is what I'm committed to. I said I was going to do this. I didn't do this. Let me make a new commitment from that, a new agreement for that.
Yeah, we can make resolutions and say we're going to do something, but unless we give it time to live. And what I mean by that is let's put it on the calendar and it lives from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That's when my agreement lives. My resolution lives. And I put it on my calendar. If I just say, I'm going to work out every day and I don't give it a time to live, like 12 to 1 or a particular time frame, I tend not to do it. But if I put it on a calendar or I make an appointment with someone else and we're going to meet there, that's when it starts to happen. Just keeping it in our mindset, it will dissipate after a while.
Absolutely. And when you can tie it into, for me, I'm looking on my phone here because I have my needs list and my feelings list on my phone. And when you can tie it into a need that's being met and tie it into that feeling that you get out of it, let's say a need for play, or I'm just throwing some out, or a need for fun or intimacy or awareness or discovery or competence, some need that we have as human beings, and you tie that into the feeling that you get when you meet those needs. How do you, that's where, for me, that's where inspiration happens. That's where real motivation is. Because my motivation, I just keep meeting my own need. This is a need I have, and it just keeps being, like I started to work out. I started to work out with my son. I've struggled for a long time to try to get in shape. My son, who's very, very active, very physical, plays football, baseball, and basketball. The other day I said, "Hey, do you want to join the gym with me?" And he's like, "Heck yeah, I want to join the gym." Well, that's meeting some of my needs, and you could see by the smile on my face, I am super happy about that. And I go to the gym with him. He's really happy. So he's getting his need to be a stronger athlete. I'm getting my need to get back into shape met. We have
Uh
different
huh.
needs, but they come together inside of what our commitment is or what we want to do for ourselves. It's a company and a family. They're all the same way. It's all the
Yeah.
same thing.
If we have a commitment for fitness and health in our lives, which a lot of resolution are, I want to lose some weight, you know, that's a nice thought to have. So, what's going to make it a reality in our lives? One of the things that losing weight helps, or one of the things for us to do that makes it a reality in our life to lose weight, is to weigh ourselves every morning
Hmm.
or weigh ourselves every day at the same time period and to track our weight to see what we're doing, track the food we're getting. I just recently returned from California where I spent some time with my son Ben and his new wife who's expecting. And we exchanged gifts during Christmas. And he got me a Fitbit.
Oh, those are cool.
Fitbit is how many steps have you
Yeah.
taken? How'd you sleep at night? Something to track to motivate you to go, okay, if you want to improve your health, here's something, a little Fitbit that you can sync with your phone or your computer, and you can track your progression.
Uh huh.
It's that tracking that says, hey, I'm exercising more, I'm sleeping well, and it's something to track the results we're getting and to know, hey, I'm doing something and I'm getting this encouragement, even if it's from technology, I'm
Yeah.
getting this encouragement. So, you know, thanks, Ben, for the Fitbit. It's a real encouragement.
Absolutely. And it makes me think like, okay, so you have needs. So I don't know what your need is, and you can tell me what that is. But if I had that Fitbit, what need would I have? How would it serve my needs? A need for me, it would be for being effective. I'd see how effective I was at doing what I want to
Uh-huh.
do. And being effective for me is an important thing. I get excited when I'm effective.
Right.
What does the Fitbit do for you? What need does it serve for you?
If you'll excuse me a minute,
We
I'm going
got
to shut off that phone,
That's probably a
okay?
good idea.
Uh,
Okay, we're back.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's real life here, right? This is
Yeah,
just the real deal.
hmm
So my question was,
Uh,
is like for me, it would be effective to have that on my arm, and then be able to look and see how effective was I in doing the things I wanted to do. That for me, and I get excited about being effective. For you, what is that? What's your need, and what's the feeling around that?
First of all, I had a need to be appreciated by my son.
Wow.
So I got a gift. And that does my heart real well because he appreciates me, he gave me something. And it also was an acknowledgement that, hey, his father is into health and fitness. I work out regularly, and he did something to complement that with me. And now that I'm tracking it, I'm going, I'm sleeping pretty well. I see the sleep cycle, but I'm not getting as many steps in as I need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to get my work. So it just brings it to the front of my awareness. Say, there's something extra to do here, and this is some facts, some proof of what's going on. If you want to increase your fitness, go out for a run more often.
What I see is based on what you're saying and based on what I'm saying about the same thing about the Fitbit, and that could be anything. It could be about a goal of sales. It could be about buying a new car. It could be about productivity. That every human being relates to that object or that thing differently and has different needs that are connected to that. Yours was, or mine was, being effective, and yours had acknowledgement. But it was both. It was still about the same object, that same thing. So when I think about companies and being committed to being in flow, getting in flow, and being able to manage that ongoingly, what I wrote here is that there's multiple needs involved. And the beauty of conscious choosing for flow and getting into flow and looking at the different the different charts that we have is that you can see where we move into flow through conscious curiosity, right?
Right.
And then
Uh-huh.
or we
Yep.
can or we could be in fight, flight, or freeze, and we're now out of flow. And it's simply like you said, being curious, being connected, and I think also understanding that different people have different needs and different feelings, even if we're working on the same thing.
Yeah, so the organization has needs for financial solvency to grow, develop as an organization. Different departments have needs to be effective in their departments. Different teams within those departments have needs. And what makes it all work is to have that human connection where we're working with each other. And if something isn't working, to talk about it and create a new way to operate so it does work so that we can get the results we want. The department gets the results they want. The
Yeah.
organization gets it. It works in tandem with each other. We're not saying ignore the organization's needs at all. We're saying take them into account, identify what they are, and make sure that it trickles down to all the departments, the teams, the individuals within the teams. And you can tell when it's not working for people. They're pretty solemn. They're not happy, and if we just check in, say, is something going on that we need to address, at least checking in and identifying what that is will move us in that direction of entering flow with each other.
Absolutely. And could continuously do that meets our resolutions of entering into flow and being powerful in it, would you say?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Excellent.
Uh, yeah.
Well, I want to just thank you, Hayden. Tell us, just talk real quick about your book, Conscious Choosing for Flow, Transforming Conflict into Creativity. It's a great book. I just let one of my best friends read it. He just wrote an amazing letter to me, just saying how powerful it is and how he used to be in the trucking business. He was a union rep, and he said if we had had this technology, it would have he probably would still be in the business, and he had literally got out of it because it was just all the conflict. He just didn't like it, but he'd say I'd still be in the business if I had read this book.
You know, conflict happens, change happens. And I read a quote as at the bottom of someone's email that said, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens in you and through you that counts. So if there's conflict and challenges in our lives, that's what's happening to us. But what goes on inside of us and what goes on through us to deal with that conflict in a way that it works for other people. Most of us deal with conflict by returning like for like and butting heads
Yeah.
and creating more of the same dislike. What we're talking about is let's not return like for like. Let's be curious, ask what isn't working for you that we're in conflict with, and what can we do about it together? Changing the I conversation, I versus you conversation, into the we conversation. What can we do together to address this? That begins the process of entering into flow. I versus you will always be a lack of flow. A we conversation and collaboration will enter flow. So the book is really about what goes on inside of us and what can go on through us in order to create that flow with everyone we're interacting with. And that's our goal, is to create that kind of concept out there that this is possible.
Hmm.
But we need to be in conversation and address what's not working for people in order to identify a strategy and a way moving forward that will work for people.
That's awesome. Very, very
Yeah.
well said. If you want to get a copy of Conscious Choosing from Flow, you can get it a couple different ways. You can go on Amazon and download it there, or you can go to our website, consciouschoosing.com, and there's a little area that you can order the book. And if you want it personally signed by Hayden, you can just write in your name or whatever you want him to say. Is that what you do? You can write in.
If you order it on our website, consciouschoosing.com, and you can say who the book is for when you purchase it, and I'll write a little something in there and send it out to you.
That's terrific. That's a special thing to get. And what else we got? We're recording this on New Year's Eve because we thought it would be a really special time. There's certain energy out in the world, right? But it's probably going to
Yeah.
get released around the second week of January. So really want to encourage you to, just share this webinar with people. If there's anything we can do, we would love to support you. If you're interested in bringing conscious choosing to flow, conscious choosing for flow to your company, you can get a hold of us on our website, consciouschoosing.com, and I'll put some numbers right here so that you can get a hold of us that way, either info at consciouschoosing.com or our phone number, and we'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thank you very much, Martine. Thanks for this interview, and I really appreciate what you're doing in the world.
Thank you. Same to you, Hayden. It's a great book, and for all you out there, Happy New Year. I hope 2015 is the greatest year of your life.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.